Hello everyone, and welcome to This Musical Life. Since it's a little later in the day, it's 6:30 p.m. I'm not actually gonna grab a cup of coffee because I will not sleep. So we're gonna grab a LaCroix today. We're gonna have a seltzer talk. Let's get into it. Today I want to talk about why I decided to go into music and what is sustaining me now. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I always loved to sing, but it was never something that I thought about doing as a career. I at one point thought about being famous, like probably every kid, but I just really loved to sing and I loved to make music and be creative. So I did a lot of choirs, and my best friend and I would do karaoke a lot, and it was always just such a fun, joyful thing for me. Let's go to high school. So I was in show choir. Comment below if you were in show choir. I feel like it's this weird cult that I was in, and I kind of loved it, and I feel a little bit ashamed about that, but I actually did love it. It was really what got me into the scene of meeting choreographers, being around like-minded people who were weird and crazy. That was kind of honestly my first introduction to a real music setting, was show choir. So then I decided to take private lessons when I was 15. I think it was the summer before my sophomore year of high school, and I freaking hated it at first. I did not really like classical music at that point. I spent my first couple lessons just breathing. We didn't even sing, we just breathed, and I was like, this is so boring. But the next year I went back to choir, and everyone was like, oh, are you taking voice lessons? And just started seeing oh, they've got some progress going on. So that was pretty encouraging. And the more I did classical singing, the more I really felt kind of a depth that I didn't feel with other music. It nourished me in a different way. It used my brain in a different way. And I don't think at that point I would have said I wanted to sing opera or be a classical musician, but I at least acknowledged there was something happening that really made me feel good and whole. I put together a couple songs to audition for some colleges. This bug is driving me crazy. And I only chose 3 colleges, and they were all private Christian colleges, because at that time I was pretty involved in church and really just wanted to go to a Christian college. That's kind of what I was pushed towards, so that's what I did. I did not have high aspirations to be an opera singer or even a performer. I liked performing, but I really wanted to do church music. So then I went to college, I got a scholarship, and to be honest, one of the real reasons I studied music in college is because of the scholarship. I didn't have good enough SAT, ACT scores, and so that was the place I got money. And that was a pretty big deciding factor for me for going to college. So I went to Taylor University in Upland, Indiana, very small town, and I had a wonderful time getting to know myself. It was hard, and it was really eye-opening. I was a part of the university choir, and that was kind of a wake-up call for me because it was a pretty high-level choir, and I was in show choir, so I was not used to being in that rigorous of a routine, singing that much music in that many languages. So it was kind of a wake-up call for me, but it was a really good team environment. I got asked to be in several leadership positions, which I really, really did not feel prepared for. But that was another challenge where I had to come to terms with myself and be like, do I have it in me? Do I want this? Someone sees something in me. Maybe I just kind of go for it. And I did, and I failed a lot. That was really hard. I yeah, I just learned a lot. And it was like one of those things where I just wanted to quit all the time. Eventually I was an assistant director, and I just, whew, that was rough. But I think that was honestly one of the things that taught me the most leadership skills, was being an assistant director of that choir. After that, I just was done. I graduated college. I took a year off, and I decided to just kind of explore a little bit. I came back to Fort Wayne, Indiana, because at that time I was living in Indiana, and I worked at a family friend's office, and I did community theater. During that year, I just really didn't think I could live without knowing more what I could do. I really missed being in the rigor of classical music, and that's been a theme again and again in my life. Getting really overwhelmed in the thick of the hard parts of this field, and then being out of it and just seeing how it nourishes my soul, even though it's hard. And I needed to get used to the hard, because at first it's like, oh, this sucks, like this is supposed to be fun and this isn't fun. But then over time you see how the hard is why it nourishes you and why it feels like it's essential to your being. It's really rewarding. So I just really missed that, and I decided to apply for grad school, just because I didn't feel like I really took it seriously in undergrad, and I really wanted to see what I could do. I applied again only to 3 schools, and I got into the program at the University of Denver with a graduate assistantship in teaching voice. So I went to University of Denver, and honestly my first year of grad school was amazing. It was so eye-opening. It was the first time that I was like, we're doing this, we're just going for it. And that was an amazing feeling, finally feeling ready to get to know and pursue my own voice. Actually, my first year of grad school, as great as it was challenging too, because I did not get any roles. I was the only incoming grad student, and I was the only grad student that didn't get a role in the opera, which to me at the time felt very discouraging. But I worked so hard, I practiced all the time, and I just was determined to get to a place that my voice needed to be to get a role in the opera. And finally, the spring of my second year, I got a role. My first role, Dorabella in Così fan tutte, and I will always remember that role because I was just so excited, and I just had such a good time. But it took me a long time to be able to get to the point that my voice needed to be to sing on a big stage. And that process I'll never forget, because that was just so much work that paid off. And you know, the beauty of practice. And then I decided to add a choral conducting degree. And that was hard. I think I was just trying to push myself to the limit of what I could do, and it was a lot. I got a dual concentration master's degree in vocal performance and choral conducting. It took me 4 years to graduate, and I did my best, but I just, I could only do so much. After that first year, I really started focusing on the conducting a lot more. I still did roles in the operas, and I still taught voice lessons for a couple years, but I did a lot of conducting stuff as well, and that was just really, really hard for me. I learned so much from the conducting degree, but I think at the time I was personally not very healthy, and I just couldn't handle the pressure of having both of those things at the same time. So actually, after I graduated, after 4 years, I completely crashed, and I did not sing for 6 months. And that period of time, I got a job in an office. I lived at home. I just needed a lot of support because it just flattened me. Like those 2 degrees just flattened me. And I needed a kind of wake up call to get healthy. I was struggling with depression, like a pretty bad depression at the time. And I needed to get myself healthy so that I would have the energy to take this journey, because it's hard. And that was essential for me to do everything that I've been able to do. I worked in that office job for about a year, and then I got this random opportunity to perform in an opera and get paid a lot. It was my first professional gig, and I realized I had to do that. I had to perform. Like, just night and day, what I was doing performing and what I was doing in the office, just night and day. My mood, my attitude, my happiness, I just needed to perform. So I put that money into savings, and I used it to quit my job and start auditioning and performing as a musician full-time. At the time, I had a teaching job, so I had some income and a few other odd things. But it was like a pretty scary decision to quit that job and just dive in. And then 6 months later, COVID happened. And that's where I'll leave off for this video. I'll come back with a part 2 next time, so stay tuned, and I hope you like this video. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of videos that come out every week. Okay, cheers. I'll see you next time. Bye. Is this way too bright? This is so bright. Dang it. I'm gonna have to move.